The City of Cranbrook Municipal Elections 2018. 6 positions, 10 candidates, 5 questions from the business community, and only one 45-second take to answer each. No retakes, no edits. Question 1. If elected, what are your top 3 priorities?
Thank you for the question. I appreciate that. First off, I think the best thing for me to address is that listening to people needs to be number one. I've found in the discussions that I've been having with folks and in some of my campaigning that one of the things that's standing out most is people just aren't feeling listened to. They just want to be able to approach council or council members just very openly. Having said that, and having the desire to be able to be that ear and then be able to also be the voice for those folks inside council, affordable housing has become one of the things that's been spoken to me directly, as well as growth of the city and the infrastructure issues and making sure that we're keeping fiscally responsible and accountable to the public with that.
Question 2. What strategies would you consider implementing to increase housing as well as affordable housing to keep and attract new businesses and employees?
That's an in-depth question. And when I looked at this, one of the things that I would consider is the issues that we have when it comes to the affordability analysis, those things that affect affordability of housing, right? All the things that we pay as far as taxes and what have you within our living, as well as things like transportation costs. There are a lot of different strategies that we can use. I've found that the one in my research that has become really the most I guess, cost efficient to look at is reducing kind of the unjustified restrictions and costs that for urban landfills, but we can run into problems with that as well, with people kind of putting their backs up about having those things in their neighborhoods. But there are lots of things we can still look at.
Question 3. What steps would you take to attract business and industry to increase economic diversity?
I've found that there's 4 things that can really be done for this, and I'm just going to refer to some notes that I have so that I make sure I get it exactly right for you, okay? The first one would be to promote and drive innovation agenda to foster industry growth and then attract talent. The secondly would be to try and create Cranbrook as being the premier connector of education, workforce development, and industry here. Bolstering the awareness of accessibility to things like science, technology, engineering, and that way to inspire those organizations that have businesses in that to come here, and then that can inspire our local students to get educated in those areas. The last would be to engage with programs that increase the diversity and leadership throughout the city, which would then affect the region.
Question 4. What do you see as the biggest fiscal challenges for the City of Cranbrook, and how should they be addressed?
Right now, I think the biggest challenge that we're facing is the maintaining and the improving of our infrastructure. Infrastructure costs are a lot higher than most people really realize, and maintaining that is something that can be very costly to the taxpayer. And so going forward, I think it's very important for us to make sure that what we address is how this is affecting the taxpayer while we're continuing to upgrade and maintain the infrastructure that we have. We know that we're growing. We know that there's businesses coming here. We know that that means families will come here as well. That's going to require us to make sure that we have a very good infrastructure and that we improve what's already starting to deteriorate. It's an important part of the city is to make sure people can get from place to place and have what they need, right? So that I find is probably the biggest one.
Question 5. What is your perspective on the best ways to collaborate with the business community and organizations to ensure a sustainable and prosperous future for our community?
Okay. I read a fantastic article in the Ivy Business Journal recently by a lady named Tima Bansal, and she gives 10. I won't give you all 10 of those things that can be used. The ones that I found that stood out the most for me were, first off, creating smart integrated public policy when it comes to this issue. Then we can help push for creating organizational structures that support sustainability, make it part of the corporate culture as we move forward understanding sustainability issues with business. Another one that stood out to me was regarding First Nations and having equitable directives regarding First Nations and their rights. That's the Canada we live in today, is working closely with our First Nations communities going forward.
Video production powered by Artistic Media Productions in collaboration with eno.ca and the Cranbrook Chamber of Commerce.